We're starting a new sefer this week. We're starting sefer Bamidbar. The what? The Simanat Hava. We know the Gemara Megillah tells us that Ezra made a takana that before Rosh Hashanah we should read which parasha? For Rosh Hashanah, you want to read Parashat Kitavo. Why you want to read Parashat Kitavo for Rosh Hashanah? Because you have the Tochecha, you have the rebuke, you have the curses. So Ezra wanted Techle Shana v'Kilaloteya to end the year with its curses, and the new year should start. Right? Same thing, Ezra was mitaking that before Shavuot, which is also a Rosh Hashanah, before Shavuot, where not Rosh Hashanah, but it's a sense of being judged on those days for stuff. So you should read what? Parashat Bechukotai, which also has the Tochacha, has rebuke and the curses inside there. Again, same idea. Techle Shana v'Kiloteya, end the year with its curses. You start the judgment and the new year, Shavuot, new Torah learning, should be on a new foot. But we all know the famous question of the Tosafot. Tosafot says, hold on, it's not entirely true. You're right, we read Kitavo before Shana. But between Kitavo and Shana, we always read Parashat Nitzavim. And before Shavuot, we read Bechukotai, right, 2 weeks before. And then before Shavuot, you always read at least Parashat Bamidbar. So it's not directly before. So what was Ezra Mitaken? Read it beforehand. It's not right beforehand. There's something in between. So they explain what? That's what explains. We want somewhat of a buffer in between. You don't want to read the curses and go straight into Rosh Hashanah. You don't want to read the curses and go straight into Shavuot. We need a little bit of a buffer week, something in between to offset the curses somewhat. Rav Belsky explains, Parshat Nitzavim. What is Nitzavim dealing with mostly? You have some curses there, but the rest of it is about doing teshuvah and saying that the Torah lo b'shamayim. The Torah is on earth. You have to learn Torah. So there's a connection here. You read the curses the week beforehand, do teshuvah, learn Torah, you're going to have a beautiful Rosh Hashanah. That's why it's Kitavo, then Nitzavim, Rosh Hashanah. What about Bamidbar? What shaykhut, what connection does it have to read the curses and then go Parashat Bamidbar and then come to Shavuot? So Rav Belsky explains as follows. He says, although we know counting for no reason is a curse, when a person counts Jews for no reason, it could be, and in an improper way, it can be a curse, like it happened in the times of King David. But if you count for a purpose, a correct purpose, accounting is actually a blessing. A census is actually a beracha when done correctly. How do you understand? First of all, what's the name of this sefer? Sefer Bamidbar, also known as Chumash HaPekudim. What does Pekudim mean? The countings, the reckonings, the numbers. That's why in English, what's it called? Sefer Bamidbar in English is known as the Book of Numbers. There's a lot of countings in there. We get a counting in Parashat Bamidbar. We get again in Parashat Naso, Ba'otecha, in Pinchas, in Matot Maseh. Again and again, there's countings and countings and countings. And there's all types of countings. There's counting L'mishpechotam, Ulbeit Abotam, to the Shvatim, right, to the families, to the head of the houses, to the tribes, and then to the degel, to the what's it called, the encampments, right, the flanks. You have counting after types of counting after types of counting after types of counting. Why so much counting? Says Rav Belsky, there's an idea in counting. What does a counting do? The counting takes an individual and tells him, yes, you're a yachid, but you're not only a yachid. You're not only a one person, one single person. You are actually part of something greater. You are actually a group. what you do makes differences not just for you, but it makes a difference for your whole grouping. Your mishpechotam, your bet avotam, your shevet, your flank, everything. You are part of a bigger cycle, a bigger thing. In fact, Chazal tell us that if a group comes over to tell someone to join them for a mitzvah, and he says, I don't want to join, what happens to him? A deficiency that cannot be counted, says the Chazal. He loses such a thing, you can't even count how much he lost. If he was supposed to be part of a group of a rabbim to do a mitzvah, they invited him, and he didn't come to do that mitzvah, his loss is so big, you can't count it. That's what Chazal say. To be part of a rabbim, says Rav Belsky, being counted in with others to set out to do mitzvah is one of the most important things a person can do in life. Again, to be counted in a group to do a mitzvah is one of the most important things you can do in life. Obviously, you have to be a yachid also. You have to have your ways, do certain things. But being part of a group is very important. We have a lashon, berov am, hadat melech. How do you show honor to the king? The king this week went to Golder Greens, right? One of the king of England, the king of the UK. He went to the Jewish community in Golder Greens, right? Everyone came out. Because that's how you show respect to the king. You come out in the masses. Say bracha, not say bracha. That's some do, some don't. Well, that's a different discussion halachically. They have in the video. Someone did say a bracha. There's machloket poskim whether you say a bracha or not on that king.
President is it considered to be king?
It depends how you view things. Again, not for today. Not for today. There are different opinions there. But Biro Am Hadrat Melech is a very important concept. In numbers comes the honor.
There were only 4 names that ended with Aleph Lamed.
Rav Belsky says, you should know that you don't always need to have the hugest of numbers. You don't always need to have the biggest of numbers. Any group, even if it's a few people, they can make a big difference. If a few friends get together and they say, we see some people in the community have a problem with funds, they don't have enough money for Yom Tov. Let's get together and help them out. That already is a group that is doing a big difference in the world. He says another thing. Sometimes he writes that there's a Rav or a Manhig or somebody that can be influential to the community, but there's nobody backing him. There's nobody listening and going and doing things. Even if a few people, a sizable portion, can make their difference by listening to the Rav, by following him, doing things with him, and that will then show others, and that can change the community when just a few people start a ripple effect, they start a chain of things. So a lot of things in the community can happen when people work together as a group. That's what a community is. When people work together as a group. And he brings an example here. He brings an example here. You know, the community becomes more orthodox and they're Shomer Shabbat. And there's a guy who has a store there and he's not Shomer Shabbat. With enough numbers, we can convince him to keep Shabbat. If we come and we tell him, you know, if you keep Shabbat, we're going to come to you more often. We're going to be buying from you. Not to say you shouldn't go to Shomer Shabbat, people who are already Shomer Shabbat, but we're going to also come to your place of business as somewhere. I know personally a story. I know personally a story in the 5 towns. There's a certain barbershop that opened up many years ago. And the guy was thinking to open up on Shabbat, and the Rabbanim of the 5 towns community came to him, and the guy was from Queens, and they came to him and they said, you promised us you're going to keep the clothes on Shabbat, you Shomer Shabbat, we promise you we're going to come to you, we're going to keep you busy. He's now there a very long time, Baruch Hashem, he's been Shomer Shabbat, not only is Shomer Shabbat his store, he himself became Shomer Shabbat. Okay, that's a lot of times the side effects of numbers. of when you count and you make a difference as a community. You can change people's lives. Okay, but it has to be done. People are often so wrapped up in their own personal lives that they have no time or inclination for joining the tzibur. But certain things require a tzibur. There are certain things that cannot happen. The Rav himself can't do it. The guy by himself can't do it. It's just not possible for one member of the community to do it. You need to have an oilam, you need to have a tzibur, you need to have a community together to get things done. Likewise, strength in numbers is not always necessary for the performance of a mitzvah, but it'll certainly strengthen the resolve. You know, when you come to a minyan and there's 20 people there, it's different when there's only 10 people there. It's a different tefillah. It's a different atmosphere. You feel it. It makes a difference.
Here's good everything.
You know, go to the shiur. Shouldn't I go to the shiur? You should know, you going makes all the difference. Don't say nobody else comes, I don't come, if I don't come, what's going to be? Every person who comes makes all the difference. It changes the ruach, the atmosphere, everyone's participation in there, everything adds up. The tzibur, when it's done together, it's a whole different story. The Chavetz Chaim, he writes in Ahavat Chesed that human beings cannot function without being part of a tzibur. Anyone who thinks he could be a hermit and can survive without a tzibur is fooling himself. So the Chavetz Chaim. Why? He gives an example. He says, imagine a person who has something to be happy about. Something good came your way.
You want to share?
What's the first thing you want to do?
Share.
You have to share it with somebody. You can't keep simcha to yourself. Sometimes people hold on to it for a little bit because they want to make sure everything's like this. But eventually you want to share it because that's what we are. We humans.
You're gonna make a party with yourself.
What? Exactly. So he's talking about Hazak, or he's talking about the Hazan. Okay, Hazan. It's also very true. The Hazan is a reflection of the people in the shul. They give him power, he can do well. They don't give him power, he cannot do well.
That's mean if Hazan bad dawani is our problem.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes.
He represents you.
Sometimes.
I didn't do
Sometimes.
anything. I'm just sitting here. He did bad job.
No. Sometimes there are some of the tefillot together with the Chazan. So if the Chazan says something, the tzibur goes, the tefillah goes really nice. Without that, the Chazan by himself, what is he going to do?
So it's very important, Rabotai, that we understand that we are individuals and we have to do things individually, but at the same time we're part of a bigger group. L'mishpechotam, levet avotam. Okay, we're part of a family. We're part of we're collective, and that's the way we are. As humans, we're social beings, and Hashem made us that way in order to interact with each other and get things done.
Hashem make us as a Jewish people or going also
Human being itself.
Human, Goyim as well. They're social people. Everyone, we're all social people. We have to be, because that's the only way we can function in society.
Look, the first thing, לא טוב היות האדם לבדו, אעשה לו עזר וכנגדו. אדם by himself is no good. I give him a wife. Yeah. אדם הראשון. What do you have?
This is camera over here. I cannot talk.
Okay, I will tell you, let's now segue into another topic from this week's Parashah. The Sefer Bamidbar starts off, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe Bamidbar Sinai. Hashem spoke to Moshe in the Sinai desert. Why is it so important for us to know Bamidbar Sinai? The Torah was given in Sinai. Moshe is spoken to at Sinai.
We know it already.
What's so special about Sinai? Where is Sinai? Where is the high Sinai? Where is the mountain?
In the desert.
In the desert. So Chachamim saying,
It's now lowest, but
how do you survive in the desert? How do you survive in the desert? No, don't give me actual survival kits. How do you survive? Okay, Be'er Miriam, on an Kavod and the mud. Where does that all come from?
Hashem.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How do you survive in the desert? With bitachon and Ba'Hashem. That is the way. The Torah was given to us in Sinai to teach us how to live a Torah life. A Torah life requires
Instruction.
bitachon. Faith and believe in Hashem. That He's got me all the time.
It's not only in desert, everywhere.
You're right. Everywhere. But it's hard to see it everywhere. China, money, kesef, halach, it comes, right? In the desert, there's no illusions there.
Business and you.
There's nothing there. It's either I get it from God or I don't. Here you can get fooled. So therefore it was given in the Sinai to tell you that's the way the Torah life is. Rabbi Elbaz here in his Sefer brings a mashal. There was a father, he wakes up his son in the morning to go to yeshiva, gets him ready. The mother prepares a sandwich, a lunch for him. The father takes the son to yeshiva, he comes back home and he sees that his son left his lunch at home. Now any of us who've had kids who have to go to school and they don't have lunch for them in school, what are you going to do?
You're going to go back.
You're going back.
Can you give this? Can you do this?
Right? Because he's going to need it. Guess what? That's the nimshal. The nimshal is HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what you need. If you're going to follow the Torah, Hashem says, I know what you need. I got you covered. I got you covered. Here's everything you need. Don't worry about your lunch. Don't worry about it. I'll bring it to you. In fact, that's the way the Rambam answers the question to last week's parasha. Last week's parasha, Im mechukotai tilechu, vet mitzotai tishmeru, v'ashitem otam. Then what did the pasuk say? V'natati geshmechem be'itam, v'achatem lachmechem lasova. If you keep the Torah, I'm going to give you rain, I'm going to give you food, you can eat it, everything, night. The question is, what? I'm learning Torah to get schar? To get rewarded on this world? I thought you told me that schar ba'olam mazel leika. There's no schar in this world. All the schar is in the next world. So, how do you understand this? Keep the Torah, and I'm going to give you what you need. Says the Rambam, that's exactly it. The Rambam says, this is not the schar. The schar is going to be in Olam Haba for learning Torah. What do you get in this world? I'm going to read you the Lashon. Hashem promises us in the Torah that if we fulfill the Torah joy, He will remove all obstacles that prevent us from observing the Torah. There'll be no disease, no war, no famine. He will give us benefits that help us to perform the Torah, such as peace, prosperity, so that we'll have not to spend all our time taking care of our physical needs. Rather, we'll be free to study wisdom and perform the mitzvot so that we will merit the life of the world to come. But Chas Shalom, someone who abandons the Torah because he thinks I have to do things, then what will happen? Hashem will remove all the benefits of the world from him, and he'll be destroyed. So says the Rambam very clearly, this same idea. Torah was given to us in the Sinai desert to teach us full faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's going to take care of us. Just like a father will bring his lunch to his kid, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring you what you need. The story, Hasid comes to his Rebbe and he tells his Rebbe, I have a severe disease. I went to doctor after doctor after doctor and nobody has for me the remedy. I don't know. They tell me I'm going to die. What should I do? The Rebbe said to him, listen, go to a certain city and there's a doctor. His name is Dr. Rahman. Go find Dr. Rahman. He is going to help you. So he gets to that city. He says, where's your doctor? I'm looking for Dr. Rahman. They said, there's no Dr. Rahman. He goes to another guy, Dr. Rahman. He goes through the yellow pages for Dr. Rahman. He Googled it. No Dr. Rahman. So he goes over to the people and says, what do you guys do when you have something wrong? And someone's not feeling well. They said, what do? We daven to Hashem. He says, daven to Hashem. And what happens if we daven? He says, if we daven good enough, everything comes good. He goes back to his Rebbe. He says, Rebbe, I went there. There is no Dr. Rahman. I looked. So what? So the Rebbe says to them, what do? Because they go to the Siddur, they pray. And he says, and what do you think Hashem is? Av HaRahaman. He is the Father that's merciful. Where are we turning our attention to? What are we looking at? Are we understanding that everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The Torah was given in Sinai. No, we didn't say that. But we have to say that the refuah doesn't come from the doctors.
Of course, but
we have to play along. We have to play along.
It's the Shaliyah from Hashem.
shliach, or we just have to do what we have to do. Different understandings, but we have to do what we have to do, right? We're instructed, but we also have to know what we have to know, which is that's not the doctor.
When the doctor passes the cemetery, he does that. Why?
Gabriel says when the doctor passes the cemetery, he doesn't see it. Why?
No, he covers his
He covers his face. Oh, he's embarrassed at all the people he killed. the doctor has to know that as the Rambam's tefillah for the doctor is, he's a shliach. He's there to help. He's able to do what he can do, but at the same time, he's not there to say you're going to die and you're this and you're that. His job is to do, and our job is to do. In the end of the day, after our job, it's all in the hands of Kadosh Baruch Hu. This is what we learned over the summer when we looked in the Sefer of Chavat Levavot. We do Shari Emuna, right, with the how to have bitachon, shar bitachon, and the Chavat Levavot. We talked about this. What we do, but in the end of the day, we know it's all from my Kadosh Baruch Hu. But another idea, Rabotai, another idea of what it means that the Torah was given in Sinai. And Bamidbar Sinai, the Bereshit Moshe Bamidbar Sinai, says the Midrash Rabbah, Rabotai, anyone who does not make himself like a desert, what's a desert? It's Hefker, right? An ownerless desert, cannot acquire wisdom and Torah. Therefore, it says, Bamidbar Sinai. You have to become like a desert. We're going to explain what that means in a minute. The Gemara Nidarim says, what does it mean that it says, and from the desert to Matana? Once a person makes himself like a desert, like a wilderness, ownerless and open to all, the Torah will be given to him like a matana, like a gift. Matan Torah. That's how we say Matan Torah. Torah is a gift. Can't understand it otherwise. It's divine knowledge. What right do me and you have to have divine knowledge? It only comes as a matana. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu was in Shemayim. 40 days. Every day he learned, he didn't remember nothing. What does the Midrash say? On the 40th day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, here is matana, and gave him all the Torah.
I had to torture him for 40 days.
Because that's how you get it. You have to work on it. Amel b'Torah. You work. Even if you forget, keep working on it. Because what happens in the end? Matana, it comes to you. Okay? Now, Gemara in Eruvin says, if a person makes himself like a desert, which everyone treads upon, his learning endures. It stays with him. And if he does not make himself a desert, then his Torah does not stay with him. Beyond the act of learning itself, everyone wants their learning to stay, right? We learned in the Pirkei Avot. We want it to stay with us. We don't want it to lose right away. How does it happen? He must make himself like a desert. There are many explanations, but we'll deal with one. Maybe we'll mention a second one as well. What does it mean? Making himself like a desert. So Rabbi Reuben Elvaz explains as follows. What?
Empty the space. Get the gigabytes ready.
Or gigabytes.
So he says as follows. What happens when a person lives in his house? I live in my house. I'm thinking about getting a massage chair. Honestly, I'm thinking about getting a massage chair. But you're thinking about getting a massage chair. You're thinking about getting a new bed. Thinking about getting a new closet. You're always thinking about some sort of comfort. Jacuzzi, a pool. How do I do these different things? I want a bigger house. I want even a bigger house. Yeah. You have all these luxury. What? What happens when you live in the wilderness? Hold on. What happens when you live in the Midbar? Right? There's no bed. There's no nothing in the Midbar. Midbar is Midbar. Whatever I can get, I'm good with. I get a little water, a little food, someplace that I can sleep safely. That's it. Out of necessity, when living in a wilderness, you have to forego many comfort creatures. Chazal taught us, you want the Torah to stay with you? A person must learn to let go of various habits that have taken root in him and become second nature. I need this. I need this Coke. I need this, I need this sandwich. I need this chocolate. All these things, all these comfort creatures that I need, right? All luxuries that were originally wants eventually become needs. Whatever I originally wanted later becomes a necessity because I now get used to them. But all these comfort creatures and all these extra things, what happens? It takes a person away from the Torah. In order for a person to learn Torah, he has to imagine that he's in the wilderness, where not everything runs like clockwork. And he has to understand that one slice of bread is enough.
Cup of water.
Says Rabbi Reuben Elbaz, to make oneself like a wilderness means to be willing to sacrifice and give of yourself for the sake of Hashem, for the sake of Torah. In the Perkei Avot, in next week's Perek, right? What does it say regarding to learn Torah? It says, Kachi darka shel Torah. This is the way to learn Torah. This is the way to get Torah. How? Pat b'melach tochel. He has to eat just bread with salt. That's his food. Umayim b'mesurat tishteh. And water in small amounts. Va'al ha'aret tishan. And he sleeps where? Not in the queen size or king size bed, but on the ground. V'hayed ta'ar tihyeh. And he should have a life of deprivation. Uv Torah ata'amel. But you shall study and work hard in Torah. If you do such, Ashrecha v'tov lach. Ashrecha b'olam hazeh v'tov lach l'olam haba. Now, I'm not telling you today to go and sleep outside and get rid of your house and all this. That's not the idea. What the idea is, I have a choice today. Go learn the Beit Midrash or sit in my massage chair. Okay? Yeah, if you can do both, okay. But most times you can't do both. Baruch Hashem, our lives get so busy that you have to choose. The pizza, the burger, the shashlik, the party, or the limud Torah. So there are certain parties and certain functions that you don't have a different way out. You have to be there. It's a family event. It's a simcha, it's a bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, it's a hatuna, it is a milah, that you have to be there, you have to be there. But there are other events that you don't have to be there, okay? Someone's giving away free pizza, you don't have to be there, okay? Obviously, you have to make a heshbon of what I have to do, how it doesn't affect my Torah, how I'm making it up, right? Chaim Kanievsky would always say, I have chovot. All right, what was his chovot, his obligations? His limud, his learning for that day. I have X amount of Torah to learn that day. I have to catch, I have to do it. I have to do Maseches Chulin, right? Or middle of Daf Yomi Maseches Chulin. What about Daf Yerushalmi? Middle of Maseches Megillah, right? I have to learn my tzurba shir once a week. I have to learn my Daf Be'iyun on Shabbos. I have to learn different things every day. I have something else that I'm learning, right? A person has to keep to it. And he has to understand that other things might have to go to the side. You could get your massage chair, but you have to know how and when. Not all the time is the right time. Yeah, I'm talking to myself. I always talk to myself. Okay, listen to this story. True story. And then the Sefer Nachalt Avot, he brings a story of one of the Tosafists, from one of the Balei Tosfot, Rabbi Yechiel of Paris. Rabbi Yechiel lived in the Jewish in the area in Paris, and there was a Jewish merchant from Portugal who came to Paris for business. Now this guy, this Portuguese Jew, was doing business with Goyim, and over time he became a lot less religious. And he's now living next door to the Balei Tosfot, to Rabbi Yechiel. And this merchant sees Rabbi Yechiel is always happy. His wife's happy, he's happy, his kids are happy. And he sees they have very little to eat. They own very little. They have almost nothing. And yet he's always happy. So one day, unable to contain himself, this merchant approaches Rabbi Yechiel and he says to him, what is the source of your joy? How can you always be so happy? I'm a wealthy man. I own tons of property. But I'm always worried. I have always so much problems. I have a problem with family, I have a problem with this and that. You have nothing. You don't even know where your food's coming from. How are you so happy? Rabbi Yechiel said, let me tell you a mashal. Two men, they work in a field. They are laboring with sweat. One works for himself, and one works for somebody else. Who do you think is happier?
The one is working for somebody else.
No, for
No,
himself.
for himself.
Both are working very hard.
For somebody else.
Why? Why would someone work, someone else be happy?
No, for-
He's learning Torah for himself.
Because he finished the job, he goes home and he forget about everything.
Eh.
The one he working for himself, he
Can
always
twist it
into it, you know.
either way.
So Rabbi Chiel said, like Rabbi Avner is saying, he says the person who works for himself, when he's working for himself, he's establishing himself. So he says to this guy as follows, he says, you are working very hard, right? Who are you working for? Tomorrow, if the Malach HaMavet comes and says your time is up,
Yeah.
you cannot tell him, I want to pay for a little bit more time to stay in this world. It doesn't work that way. There's no extension. It's not a hotel. You can say, I want to stay a little longer. It doesn't work that way. You're gone. Then everything you worked for is for who?
Next guy.
The next guy who gets it. Says Rabbi Yechiel, you know who I'm working for? I'm working for myself. Why? When I learn Torah, where's my Torah go? Olam haba. Where do we all end up? Olam haba. My job is permanent. What I do forever. So therefore, I'm more happy. I'm happy with what I do. I'm happy with what I do. That's why I can live peacefully. I learned Torah. It's for Olam haba. I have bitachon HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm taken care of. Listen to this.
I have a story, real story.
Rabbi Gabriel has a story.
There's a billionaire in China, whatever, in those Asian countries, and he dies. So the driver marries his wife, and he says, all these billions he built for me. And the driver said,
That's right. We work, and it's not ours in the end of the day. Listen to this. Rabbanim of Peshiska says, listen, a Torah scholar who's poor is like a businessman traveling. Right? When he's traveling abroad, he's looking for low-cost suppliers. He wants someone who sells them for low. And then he's going to sell it for high. And he goes through places where food is poor, accommodations are bad, but he doesn't think of canceling his trip. Why? Because he's going to get good merchandise. He's going to come back and he's going to sell it for a profit. Says the same thing. Life is a business trip. We're coming in this world for a little bit. 70 years, 80 years, if you're lucky. Some people don't even live 30, right? So, where is your long-term goals? What about the future investment? We're all saving for retirement age. What about post-retirement? After 120? Where is the save up for that?
they say statistics in MTA,
Yeah.
3 years. When you retire,
You don't even get to enjoy your retirement.
but for 25 years, they're looking forward
For 3 years.
for retirement. And then
Yeah, I know many people, they worked until they were 65, 67, and they finally retired, and then they didn't last 6 months.
there's a lot of like that.
So, well, not only that, what are you working in? You could be on Mel B'Torah. You could be on Mel B'Torah. There was a guy, the story is told, it's a true story. A guy shows up in Yeshiva Torah V'dat. This guy's like 50-something years old. He showed up in Yeshiva Torah V'dat. He says, I want to go to Rav Pam Shir for the year. They said, who are you? Where are you coming? He says, I'm from Chicago. I'm a businessman. I never went to Yeshiva when I was young. I don't know how to learn Torah. I don't know how to learn Gemara. He says, in a few years, I'm going to be retired. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Right? And I don't want to be like those guys sitting outside the apartment buildings, right? And you go around in Queens and places like that. They're playing sheshbesh and shachmat, right? And they're...
At least they do this. This one is sitting vegetable.
Some just sit like a vegetable, right? And I says, I don't want to be that guy. I want to learn Torah. I want to be busy with learning. So I see people in the Mikdash, they're 60, 70, 80. People come over to them, ask them questions. They're the people you ask. They're learning. They're sharp. I want to be that guy. You know what happened, by the way, I will tell you? He never even made it to retirement age. He learned that year, the year after he went back to work, and he was niftar. He didn't go for that year to learn Torah. He never would have learned Torah in his life.
So at least he did it true.
Some people wanted to be
Some people?
1 year they get to Ganadam.
That was pilot for him. He 1 year. He wanted to taste it a little bit.
He wanted to taste it so he'll be able to do it later. But Baruch Hashem, he tasted it because he never would have had it otherwise. Listen to this story, Rabotai. A lawyer, successful lawyer, came to visit his childhood friend, Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman, Zecher Tzadik L'Bracham. And he saw Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman was living in poverty. No money. He said, Elchanan, you were so much smarter than me. If you would have become a lawyer, you would have been even wealthier than I am today. Rabbi Chanan didn't answer him, and they continued talking other things. Many enjoyable hours went by, and finally, Rabbi Chanan accompanied his friend to the train station. And there were two trains at the train station. One was a modern one, very comfortable, and it was going to the east. And the other one was an old rickety one, and it was going to the west. The lawyer was heading westward, so he was going to the old rickety train. So Rabbi Chanan says to him, "Why are you going to the old train? Go to the new, modern, comfortable one." He says to him, "What am I going to do with the new one? I need to go west. That train's going east." So Rabbi Chanan says to him,
That's us, Jewish people.
Rabbi Chanan says, "Listen to yourself. When you want to arrive at a certain destination, the comfort level of the vehicle doesn't mean much. Who cares what type of train? I need to get there." Says Rabbi Chanan, "Well, guess what? Olam hazeh is just a prasdur. It's just a hallway to Olam haba. I don't care about this." Right? The Havetz Chaim had no furniture, right? Because I'm just a traveler. Again, I'm not telling you not to have furniture. I'm not telling you not to have a house, not to have cars, not to have these things. Or the massage. Or the jacuzzi. Okay? I'm not telling you not to have those things. But where is your priority? Where is your priority? Do you understand that it's okay to forego things? I don't need every luxury or every want. One of the best things that you can do for yourself is to shut down your social media. Okay? If anyone who's listening to this, whether now or online, shut down your social media. Do me a favor. You don't need to be on Instagram and listen to these influencers who are telling you to buy every other item that you do not need. Okay? They're just telling you, buy this. Oh, it's going to change your life. It's going to change this, that. Nothing. They're all getting paid to sell you these things. They're getting paid to sell you these things. And then you listen. Oh, yeah, they said like this, they said like that. By the way, these influencers are very smart. They've learned how to take videos.
Exactly.
How to make everything look.
I have a guy is in my channel. He's across the street from me. Across the street, across
The path, yeah.
channel. He's always there, and they know how to take the picture. He has followers. He has maybe 1 million people following him, and
It's not Tracks NYC, right?
And they make a lot. He's bigger than them maybe. He makes millions, a lot of money.
It's all show. It's all this. And then at the end of the day, what do you have?
He's the guy. He's not Jewish.
So what I'm trying to say here, is understand the balance. We're Pashto people, we're simple people. We need certain luxury, certain comforts. This is our generation. This is what we have. But you don't have to get everything. You don't have to get the fully loaded car with everything coming out. You're not going to use half those options. Okay? All right? You need the basics in life. A basic today could be 2 cars. But normal cars. It has air conditioning. Fine. But you don't need every option. You don't need to pay for Sirius XM and for this and for that, all these different things. Person needs to balance these things, I will tell you. You should know, there's a story that's told of a Rav that was invited to a rich man's house. He comes to the rich man's house and he starts crying.
Who was crying?
The Rav. And the rich man was like, "Why are you crying? Why are you crying?" He says, "I'm looking at your wallpaper and I'm crying." He says, "Rabbi, why are you crying? This is you know how expensive this wallpaper is? This is Italian, this is that." And he's looking at his couch. "I'm crying because of your couches. Why are you crying? All my stuff." He says, "I'll tell you why I'm crying. How much money you spend on all this?" He says, "I spend lots of money on it." He says, "That's why I'm exactly crying. That money could have been spent for Torah. That time you were working on that money could have been spent for Torah. And you went and you put all this stuff that could be used for Torah, you put them as wallpaper." He says, "What do I see? I see pages of Gemara pasted onto the wall."
Why?
Again, the idea is, he's not telling you can't have wallpaper. The idea is to realize, Abutai, where is the balance? Where is the cutoff? Don't look at every luxury mansion that they put on Instagram for you to look at. Okay? Because now I want to look like this, or like that. You're not that. That's not you. That's not your station. That's what you're supposed to have. What are you supposed to have? כחי דרכה של תורה, פת במנה תאכל, ומים במשורה תשתה, הארץ תשען, ועץ תחיה, ותורה תעמל. That is how a person becomes great in Torah.
But
Now,
in the morning we learn, and night also we learn. What's wrong with that?
the Mishnah says, Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelek la'olam haba. Everyone has a portion in the world to come. Our Chachamim tell us, some people's portion is bigger, some people's portion is smaller. Every mitzvah a person performs, every bracha he says, is like planting seeds in his field. You have a nice field, but what do you have in the field? You have to plant it. You have a portion. What's in there? You have to do mitzvot, and you make a field. You make a nice place for yourself. Rabbi Yehuda Tzadka, the Rosh Yeshiva of Parant Yosef, Zecher Tzadik U'Bracha, he says, okay, I make all my mitzvot. I plant everything in there. But even after I plant a seed, what do I need to do? I need to water it. So where's my water? So Rabbi Gabriel says, the Torah learning, ain't Torah elamayim, Torah is like mayim. The Torah learning is what nourishes the seeds. When a person learns Torah, it nourishes all the mitzvot, and when he comes to his chelik ba'olam haba, what does he have? He has the most wonderful chelik. How foolish, then, are those who spend all their nights and days in vanities of this temporal world. In this temporary world. What are they doing? All day they're busy with this, all day they're busy with that, at night they're busy with this and this and that. What happened to the Torah? True happiness in this world is found among those who dedicate themselves to learning Torah. As the Mishnah says, Ezuhu Asher. Who is the rich man? Hasameach be'chelko. He's happy with his lot. Be'eze lot? Eze chelik? Which chelik? Yes, and even more. His chelik ba'olam haba. Ezu asher hasameach be'chelko ba'olam haba. The chelik that I'm preparing for myself in olam haba. There's a minhag. It's a very good one. When someone passes away, they learn Mishnayot for that person, right? Yeah. The Shama and Mishnah have the same letters. Mishnah, the Shama. They once saw a rabbi. He was standing in front of a kever, a grave that was empty, and he was learning Mishnayot.
Empty kever?
Yeah.
It's his own grave.
So what are you doing?
His own grave.
He says, "This is going to be my grave. I'm prepping. I'm prepping now."
That's a хорошая idea.
He said Tehillim. He's saying Tehillim. I'm saying Tehillim for myself. I need Tehillim.
You're never gonna die like this.
Yes, I'd be happy with this world also. And that's I'm a sameach here. But also, I'm going to be happy if I know what my olam haba is going to be. If I realize that my olam haba, I'm watering it, I'm planting it, I'm doing mitzvot, I'm learning Torah, I'm planting my olam haba, then I could be sameach bechalko. His learning is everlasting. He's willing to forgo the comforts of this world for the sake of Torah. Such a person makes himself like a desert. One more understanding to what it means, a desert. You see, the great Rabbanim, they make themselves like a desert, meaning everybody comes and asks some questions, and they're answering everybody. All times, day, night, morning, late evenings. There are certain poskim that I'm in touch with almost multiple times a week, asking all sorts of questions that come up, both in my learning as well as questions that come to me. And I ask, and I'm telling you, sometimes they're answering me 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes they answer me 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes they're answering me in the middle of the day. They're like a desert. There's no time, there's no morning, there's that. They're always working for the tzibur.
You're not doing that, right? 3 o'clock in the
No, I'm not asking them at those times. I'm asking them earlier. I send them a question, a text or something like that, and then they respond to me when they get to it. Okay? So, but their response sometimes comes in very odd hours. But they're responding because they are a desert for Klal Yisrael. Everyone comes to them. You had certain tzaddikim, certain gedolim. Their houses was open to the whole world, to everybody to come. Right? Like the story goes, one time a guy came there, and he found out you can stay there for a while. So he asked around, how long can I stay here? He didn't know. He was asking the Balabai, the owner. The Balabai says, listen, I'm here a very long time. No one kicked me out. Right? They make themselves desert to Klal Yisrael. Everyone comes to their door. Everyone's asking them questions. They don't kick them away. Chaim Kanievsky, have all these stories. Oh, certain people came to him. People were not religious. And the door was open. Chazon Ish, everybody came to them. A desert. To being open. Just like a desert is open, everybody can come and go. That's how you become a Chacham and Gadol b'Torah. Is when your Torah is not just for me, or just for I should know, but it's a Torah for everybody. And anyone who needs can come. That is a person that will have his Torah enduring. Very, very important lesson. When you learn Torah, don't keep it for yourself. Share. But now, I want to just qualify that. When you share, don't force. Okay? Don't force. Especially if you have a chumrah opinion on something, or you heard a shir, some rabbi who is known to be machmer in a lot of things, and gives a machmer shita, even though he says it as being the only shita, the only opinion, I tell you, please be careful. Please ask somebody who's knowledgeable in that halakha before you go around blasting people to keep that, because that very well likely might not be the actual necessity halakha. That might be a chumradik halakha, and a person has to know what to share, how to share, and when to force and when not to force certain things.
You just remind me what happened.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a lady had a nest, the pigeon
Right.
makes. So how remove it? So I removed it, and they're hatching while I'm holding. They're hatching in my hands. So I brought them home. Children were excited. So how am I feed? So I'm feeding them.
You're forcing the feed.
And then put cheese and time.
Exactly. Force feeding them.
It just reminded me.
Force feeding is not good. It's the same thing. You have to know how to share, where to share, when to share, what to share. All this requires chokhmah. And how does the person get the chokhmah? How does he get the wisdom? From learning Torah. Amelut b'Torah. Amelut b'Torah, by the way, means to delve into the subject, to learn it, for everything, to go through and to go through and to go through. Baruch Hashem, this past Shabbat, I was away with family, and they asked some good questions on halakha. Now, in your way, and there's not a lot of sfarim, it's very hard to look everything up. Baruch Hashem, throughout the week, I've been looking things up, and seeing this, seeing that. You're trying to clarify the halakha. I thought I understood what I was talking about, but obviously, since it wasn't black and white in the Sefer, I want to make sure that what I was learning was correct, so I reached out to the poskim, and to see how they actually say the halakha is. But it's nice to go through the process to understand it. Maybe on Shavuot we'll talk about which halakha that was, and the excitement that came from there. Okay, but let's end off with one last topic. This one being somewhat halachic, and this is, if we can take out a Gemara, any Gemara. So in the beginning of most Gemarot, there is a tefillah. Okay? Tefillat Bet Midrash Mechitzato. When you come to the Bet Midrash, this is the tefillah you should say. And then, and when you leave, you say this tefillah. Okay? So in every Gemara, it's in there. When you start learning and when you finish. Yeah. Do most people say this when they learn in Gemara? No. So, what's the story with this tefillah? Let's take a look, Abutai. Number one. That is correct. There's two Gemarot. Gemara Nida tells us, if a person wants to learn Torah, right? Shavuot is coming. He wants to understand Torah. He has to do two things. One thing he has to do is sit and learn. You're not going to learn Torah if you don't sit and learn. So that's obvious, right? You got to actually learn. The second thing you need to do is to pray for it. Without tefillah, you're not going to get the learning. You have to pray for Torah, to understand Torah. It has to be part of your prayer. Ahavat Olam is part of that prayer. Okay. The next Gemara tells us that you should daven for at a time of finding, in which Rabbi Natan tells us it means a time to acquire Torah, that a person needs to find to daven in order to find and understand Torah. So there is an obligation, so to speak, to pray to understand Torah. The Gemara in Berachot tells us, Rabbi Nechoniah ben Hakana haya mitpalel b'chisato lebeit midrash uvtziato tefillah kitzara. He would pray going in, and he would pray coming out. So Amru lo, my makom tefillah zo. What is this tefillah? Amar lehem. So he tells his students, b'chnisati, when I go in, ani mitpalel shelo ye'era davar takala al yadi, that there should be no mistake because of me, right? Uvtziati, and when I leave, ani noten hoda'ah al helki. I give hoda'ah, I give thanks for my chelik of being part of the Beit Midrash. Okay? That's what Yechoniah says. The Gemara then has a Braita that provides the expanded version that we have in the beginning of all the Gemarot. Okay? They all come from the Gemara Masechet Berachot. Interestingly enough, the Rif, the Rambam, and the Rosh, they all say this is a halachic obligation to say this tefillah when you start learning. According to the Rif, the Rambam, and the Rosh, it's a chov lahalacha to say this tefillah.
You supposed to say, or we supposed to say?
Whoever is learning.
The learners or the teachers?
Can you bring Shulchan Aruch or Chaim? Simon 110.
Listen, if you say it, it's a nice thing you do.
But they saying it as a chov. That's what he brings here. The Rif, the Rambam, and the Rosh, they all say it's a chov.
How come people don't do it?
It's a practical halachic obligation.
I see Talmidei Chachamim start learning it.
Oh, very good, very good. So the Magen Avraham says the one who learns the entire day should simply recite this first tefillah in the morning and the second tefillah in the nighttime. If I learn all day in the Beit Midrash, then I can, I just say once early in the morning and once late at night. The Taz adds that even though it's written for someone learning Beit Midrash, someone learning by himself should also say it. But he should adjust the nusach for learning at home or wherever he is. The Mishnah Berurah says you should say this tefillah either standing or sitting and facing any direction. But he takes it for granted that you have to say it. So we have the Mishnah Berurah, we have the Taz, we have Magen Avraham, we have the Tur, we have the Rosh, the Rif, the Rambam, and they all say you should say this tefillah before you start learning. And yet, we don't see many people doing that. So, what? I don't know. When I was in yeshiva, we didn't do it. When I was in yeshiva, no one was doing it. I mean, I can't say no one.
Don't say loud. Don't say loud.
No. We're going to see that there are ways out. Okay. Now, the Meiri, he writes that Rabbi Nechoniah was teaching us not just for learning Torah, but for anything that we do, we should pray for Siyata D'Shemaya, so including learning Torah. But it's not dafka, just Torah. Okay, just give me one quick second over here. 110. 1 Taz, Kofi Yun. 8. Here. Listen to this. Here's the Shulchan Aruch. Siman. It says Chaim. Siman 110. Sif. Het. Hanichnas lebet midrash yitpalel. Yiras ofnei Hashem lekem lekemotenu. Shlach shalach udar halacha. Uvtziato and v'kulu. Uvtziato yomer moda ani lefshem lefnecha. Kai shesamti v'chelki miyosher bet midrash. So the Shulchan Aruch also brings it as a halacha to say this tefillah. And yet we see many people not saying.
You know what I think? I think because it's built up in the brachot, what we say.
Okay.
Early in the morning.
Okay. Hold on. So,
Those Gemara doesn't say it.
so the Aruch HaShulchan, he suggests that the primary focus of the tefillah is for a person to daven, not to make a mistake in psak halacha. So I shouldn't make a mistake, right? Shlo yera davar takala al yadi. Right? So he says today, most of us are learning, we're not being poisek in the halacha. Stop learning. So therefore, you don't have to say this tefillah. That maybe he's being melamed zchus on those who don't say it. So they're not saying because the whole thing is about making sure I say everything right. Psak halacha, but when we're learning, a lot of times it's theoretical, and so maybe he would say when you're learning halachic, maybe you should say this tefillah. Maybe okay. Nevertheless, the Aruch HaShulchan does note that the Arizal said the tefillah every day in the morning. Arizal learned all day, so he said this tefillah once in the morning. Like the Taz says the same thing. You should say it at least once in the morning, right? So we have now the Arizal also said to say it and said it. Whenever you're learning Torah, that's what he seems to say. Learning. If it's listening, learning, then it's learning. Okay. The Ritva takes a different approach. The Ritva says there's no chiyuv to recite these tefillot. And the Mishnah is only teaching us what's appropriate. Okay? It's not a chiyuv, so to say, so to speak, but it's rather appropriate behavior. The Chidah explains that is why Rabbi Nechonyan did not tell his students, say this tefillah. He was saying it, and then they asked him, what are you saying? And he said, this is what I'm saying. If it was a chiyuv to say it, he would have taught them to say it. It's not a chiyuv. It's rather a proper derech to proper hanhaga, but not necessarily a chiyuv. The Re'em Horowitz suggests that while there is an obligation to daven for success in learning, the exact text is not mandated. You don't have to say what's written in here. I can say any tefillah, and therefore he says ahavat olam in the morning prayers covers my tefillah for my prayer for learning Torah. The Chazon Ish argued that we should indeed recite it. Chazon Ish was in favor of saying this tefillah that's found in the beginning of the Gemara every time you start down to learn. The Divrei Chaim of Sanz attributed the lack of Talmidei Chachamim in his generation to the fact that people do not recite this tefillah. It says they're not praying. So if they're not praying, they're not going to be able to come to the Chachamim because you need two things. You need to learn and you need prayer. If you don't pray, you're not going to come to the Chacham. So anyone who's saying they have difficulty learning Torah, here, say this tefillah, and learning, you're going to get there. Again, some say it's only for those who deal with psak halacha. Rosh Hashanah Auerbach says you have to say this tefillah, and even on Shabbat, when you don't make personal requests, a person can and should say this bracha on Shabbat, this tefillah on Shabbat, since we permit requests for spiritual matters, even on Shabbat. So again, those who don't say it, you have a tefillah mitzchutz, then they're not doing psak halacha. Ahavat olam covers, but it seems to be, from many sources, that this should be said.
Any language?
What? In any language, but to say it before learning. Some ideas Rabbi Leibowitz brings here from this tefillah. Number one, he says that in the longer version of tefillah, there's a double request: no mishap be caused by me, and that I should not rule that something is tameh is tahor. Okay. Tosfot HaRosh explains that the first phrase refers to a situation when the posek says something correct, but he says it in an ambiguous statement, which causes the listener to make a mistake. Right? The posek has to be careful. When he gives a psak, he has to make sure it's understood. He can say the right thing, but if the person doesn't understand it, he's going to do the wrong thing. So that's the first thing. No mishap should happen. Meaning, when I give psak, it has to be clear enough that he understands it. And the second is to make sure that my psak is correct, that I'm not saying a wrong psak. The Sefer Perchei Kuna explains the first phrase refers to a posik employing an incorrect svara that eventually leads to a correct psak, while the second phrase refers to an actually incorrect psak. So sometimes the posik or the rav can have the wrong explanation, but the right halacha, right? So you don't want to do that. You don't want to get the wrong svara, but the right halacha. You want to have everything right. And you don't want to get the wrong halacha either. It says there in the tefillah, my colleagues should rejoice with me. Okay? Right? So my colleagues should rejoice with me.
Rejoice or laugh.
So Rashi explained that sometimes when a person makes a mistake or is disproven by another, he may be mocked or looked down by his colleagues. And the person is davening for that not to happen. That's one understanding. We have yet? The Maharsha says, on the other hand, the tefillah is unrelated to being a mistake, but rather is a prayer that through the learning, the person should find positive, joyous relationships with those around him. And then we'll just end. And Amilut b'Torah is, even though you don't get to the final result, we get schar for every second and every letter and everything that we try to learn. Right? In the real world, you tell your boss, I tried and I tried, but you don't have the final result, right? In our real world, not the actual real world. In our real world, you don't get paid. It's going to be bad for you. But in the real world, right? There, all your efforts will be rewarded. So another interesting idea that comes out from here. Rabbi Hanan Kushan Omer,